Can't believe it's been a year already since you've been gone, my dude. Rest in power, Akira Toriyama. Let's start the show. What's going on, people? What's really good? It's your boy Marv, and this is the Nerds in the Hood. That's right, we over 9,000 today, baby. I don't care about anything. No, but seriously, I do want to talk about what just happened this past weekend, which is not the fact that John Cena turned heel, but it is the fact that Dragon Ball Daima just aired their final episode in the series, for what we know. And this was one of Akira Toriyama's last works, really. He was heavily involved in it, although he wasn't he was the creator of the characters, but he was heavily involved in the story as opposed to writing the whole story by himself. Eventually, he just started taking over because he really likes, Dragon Ball and his works. But this was all just something that he wanted to do. And we got to see it one last time before he passed away from us. So I want to talk about the fact that there's a lot of different things to talk about. But I don't want to spend, honestly, a whole hour talking about it. But I will try to sum everything up real quick. If you didn't see the show, you can catch it on Netflix. You can catch it on Hulu. The English dub is out there. They even got, if I'm right, let me make sure I got her name right here. They even got the English dub version for, yes, her name is Stephanie Nadolny. Stephanie Nadolny. Now, I know I'm butchering that name, so I'll just type it next to me and then you can see it. But anyway, they got her to be the English dub, which she was the voice of Goku and Gohan in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z back in the day when it was the first English dub coming to America, all that stuff. And then we got all the usual people, the Christopher Sabatts and everything pulling up as well. Now, this is a real original art of work. And that is one of the biggest questions is being asked when it comes to the show. Is it canon or is it just a original anime story? Meaning filler. We don't know because Toriyama never confirmed if it was filler or not. He just kind of said that this was an anime original, but he never really said it was a filler. He just said it was a new story that he was working on. So we don't know if it's canon or not. The whole internet world, the internet community, the anime fans are divided. There are people calling it canon. There are people calling it not canon. There are people saying that he confirmed it, but there's no record that he confirmed it. So we will never know if it's canon or not. You could write on my comments all day and say, yo, fam, it's canon. I could prove it to you. And if you ain't got no proof, I ain't really going to respect that comment. I'm just going to be like, if you can't prove it, I ain't saying nothing. So be that as it may, that doesn't take away from what we saw, but at the same time, it does put it better into perspective. Because now, if you didn't see the show, long story short, Goku and his friends get turned into kids by a wish by King Goma, who wanted to get absolute power in the demon world. And since he knew people that beat Majin Buu, he got really nervous and wished them all to be kids so that way they could stay out of his way while he takes over the demon world. Goku and his friends go to try to stop him because he took the Earth Dragon Balls and made the wish, and then he took Dende, who was in charge of the Earth Dragon Balls, to make sure that the Dragon Balls can't be resurrected. So they had to go to the demon world to get those Dragon Balls to work so they could make the wish. Long story short, there's a lot of different things that are involved in it. We're not going to go fully into that. You got to watch the show for that. So I actually enjoyed the show. But if this was canon, yes, I would probably be very disappointed by the story. The animation was fire. Even at the end, the ending animation was the post-credit scene was a different animation than the entire series because it was made by, I forgot his name, but he was the artistic director behind some of my favorite anime like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Look Back, the movie. So what happens here is that they just went with a different art direction for the post-credit scene, not for the whole show. Now, the show itself, in terms of the action, was what we expect from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and everything, right? We got Goku getting in some cool fights when he was a kid, and when he was an adult, we got Vegeta getting in some cool fights. We didn't really get much from Piccolo, but he was there because we find out that he's a demon also. He's not really an alien. He's a demon. So we got him there. Bulma was there just to go along for the ride. and she was still wearing the chain that I told y'all about when I first reviewed the first episode. This chain is fire, y'all. I don't care what nobody says. When I saw this chain, I was like, yo, why is this chain so valid? If anybody knows where I could get this chain in real life, let a brother know. I need to get this chain. Even if I don't wear it every day, I'll just have it here in the background and just sit there and go, this is a valid chain. So it gave us a lot of new characters. I don't think any of them will be seen again in the story of Dragon Ball. I don't think they'll be seen in a future Super arc or a future arc for that matter, unless it's them going back to the demon world. Although at the end, it did seem for a second like they teased that the characters Pansy and Gloria were coming along for the ride. But I think they were just taking them back to the portal that can get them back to Earth, their world. And then they were just going to probably bounce. Because at the end, Gloria was picked to be a minister for the new Demon King, which is going to be Majin Buu. Which also, I gotta say, Majin Buu was one of the MVPs of this series. Like, he didn't need to be, but it was funny because this is what Dragon Ball is all about. He was the one that defeated Goma. He was the one who answered one of the questions with the, what was it? I don't want to say the name wrong because I was about to say Tamagotchis. Tamagami. He was the one that got one of the challenges right with the Tamagami with the really crazy math question. And he already knew he wasn't that strong. But the difference what Rinsu didn't know was that he was intellectually strong, whereas Majin Buu was strong physically. So it worked itself out. They were a nice tag team from that point on. And he was a good dude. He wasn't really a bad guy. What she didn't know was that when she first went back and, which was funny, she infiltrated the fight between Majin Buu and Piccolo. And when she infiltrated that fight, she stole some of the essence of Majin Buu. But that was the Fat Buu. The Fat Buu wasn't a bad guy. He was more good than he was bad. So she probably took that essence and it made two good guys, which was cool. But she didn't see that coming. Had she stole the essence of maybe Skinny Buu or Evil Buu, the Kid Buu, then we probably would have got a fiercer villain. But I did like that they had a lot of callbacks to Dragon Ball Z, which was cool. But again, if you take out the animation, you just focus on the story. If this is canon, then that leaves a lot of questions on the table. For example, how did Goku turn Super Saiyan 4 and Vegeta turn Super Saiyan 3, or as he called it, Ultra Vegeta 1, which was funny. How did they turn into those things and never once turn into those things in Super? So that gives you kind of better evidence that this may not be canon. Because if it is canon, that would be the craziest form of incontinuity I've ever seen in my life. You telling me that Goku fights Jiren and Lord Beerus and Gold Frieza and Goku Black, 4 people who could have packed Goku up, and he never once turned level 4? Well, even in Super, he admits that like 3 was the maximum he can go, which tells you that Daima never happened in the main storyline, right? Same thing with Vegeta. Vegeta can only go level 2. He can never go level 3. Vegeta also fought the same 4 people that Goku just fought that I just mentioned, and he never turned 3 even once. So that kind of, again, that kind of brings back the fact that this can't be canon. It just wouldn't make sense. I don't think Toriyama will go that hard to do something that not really contradicts, but just makes it like no continuity involved in terms of what just happened. And I feel like Toriyama would have been like, yo, if this is level 4, I need to keep level 4 going throughout. And then Vegeta finds his way into a level 4. And then they can go God mode if they want to. Especially now, because when you add an Ultra Instinct, imagine an Ultra Instinct level 4. Yo, my nerve brain just exploded. That would have been crazy. Now, I don't care for Ultra Ego. I think that is a terrible power-up for Vegeta. Anyway, so I don't think that the story has anything to do with Dragon Ball Super. I think it just has more to do with a separate timeline. As opposed to like GT, for example. GT we once thought was canon, and then Toriyama quickly denounced it as just a regular work of art. So even though it has, like a manga and stuff, it's not really considered canon anymore. Super is considered canon, but Daima might not be. We may never know since he passed. Somebody else has to speak up on his behalf and say, this is canon or this is not canon. So we have to figure that out. But in the meantime, this story did leave some nice, it just left a good feeling in your heart because this was just a tale of an adventure and it was a callback to Dragon Ball. When Goku was a kid, he went on an adventure with Bulma and with the rest of their friends. In Dragon Ball GT, Goku went on an adventure with Pan and Trunks. So it was still an element of Bulma there because her son went along for the ride as opposed to her. So now you fast forward and now you're getting Daima, which is the same thing. Goku and Bulma once again go on a little adventure. Now you're throwing characters like Pansy and Glorio and Hybis and Supreme Kai and then Vegeta and Piccolo and even Never Dynamic. You throw in different dynamics here that make it fun. Goku getting his powers awakened because it never happened on Namek, right? Vegeta turning Super Saiyan 3, which I also wish he got his powers awakened. I would have liked to see 2 Super Saiyan 4s at the same time. I also would have liked to see them use that fusion bug to go Super Saiyan 4, I don't know, Vegeta or Gogeta, whichever one, or a new version of a form. They teased it, but it never happened. So we don't know if it's coming back again, which sucks because now if this is not canon and we don't see the story again, then it's like we tease the fusion bug, I guess just as a funny Easter egg. So we don't, that is the biggest question. Is this canon? We don't know. And because we don't know that, I'm not going to sit here and break my neck trying to figure out if it is, like I'm not going to lose sleep at night because I don't know if this is canon or not. If you want to do it, that's on you. That's your business. But I'm not doing that. I am going to say that I enjoyed the adventure. Could it have been better? Yes. But also, there's another thing I also take into account when it comes to Dragon Ball programming. Dragon Ball Super to me was a very overrated show. The story itself wasn't really that good. It wasn't very enticing. Goku Black's arc was some of the worst storytelling I've ever seen. Don't care if y'all get mad if I say it. Tournament of Power was cool because it was just fighting. And that is why we watch Dragon Ball. That is why we watch the story of Dragon Ball. GT was some also of the worst storytelling I've ever seen. But I was very, very intrigued when Vegeta turned Super Saiyan 4, when they fused, when Goku fought his sons when they were under the control of Baby. Different fights like that really was cool to me. The Super Android 17, like those fights were cool. This is why you watch Dragon Ball. This is why you watch certain animes with fighting scenes that are cool. Because even if the story's not hitting, you want to see a good fight. One Piece, right? You kind of stay for the story. You're not a fan of the pacing. But what have people been talking about lately? Not just the story, yes, but the action. The animation towards the action now, that's what people are talking about. The egghead fights are crazy. And what's more to come is going to be crazier. So that's what people talk about. Let's face it. Part of being a nerd in the hood is because you came to watch hands get thrown. You want to see whose hands is working. That's what we came to see. Stomping feet. You know what I mean? All of that. Whatever you want to call it. You came to see a fight. That is why we watch Dragon Ball. Nobody's going to sit here and tell me, oh, I came because the storytelling was amazing and the world building and this. No, you didn't come for that. To me, out of all of Dragon Ball, only one arc is the best arc. And that, to me, based on storytelling, to me, is the Cell Saga, because it is a callback to Dragon Ball. It pays homage to Dragon Ball, but it's a callback about a villain who was so obsessed and incensed with trying to destroy Goku and get revenge that he made an android, and it followed him through the rest of his journeys until he got to Namek. That's crazy. Like, when you really think about it, he absorbed all the knowledge, the fights with him and Vegeta, him and Raditz, him and Piccolo, all of that until he went and flew off into space. And then when he got destroyed the first time, he came back and respawned and then got all the information that he learned then, which was able to make him instant transmission from heaven back to Earth to hurt Trunks. That is, to me, is probably some of the best storytelling they got in Dragon Ball. I don't care what y'all say. I'm standing 10 toes down on that. The Cell Saga, best one. Cell and androids, the whole saga, best ones. Other than that, every other story was either cool or it just wasn't it. Straight up. So again, watching this show, I'm all right with it. Let's bring down the ratings board real quick before I keep going on. So this show, it's all right. It's all right. It's not a compelling work of art. It's not, if you came here for a story, I'm sorry, you have been sadly mistaken. This is not why we come here. This is not why we watch this show. We watched the show for the fighting and the animation. And in 2025, the animation got like a nice upgrade. So now the fighting is even better. Again, that's why I watched Dragon Ball Super, because I was nostalgic. Also, if you're an older person, you're nostalgic, because in the 90s, this was the anime to watch. There wasn't a lot of anime we could watch. There was no internet. There was no Crunchyroll, no High Dive. There was none of that, right? It wasn't even a YouTube. So you had to watch whatever was imported onto your television, which was Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z. At the time, it wasn't many things. Then eventually, things started slowly picking up. Pokemon, Samurai Pizza Cats, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh! You know what I mean? One Piece had a short stint. Everything was coming up. And now we're in a world where you can watch everything. So for that nostalgia level, you're hyped. And Dragon Ball Z is always going to hold a special place in your heart because this is what you want. But in reality, man, you're not going to get a fire story. If you want a fire story, go watch Death Note or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood or Attack on Titan. If you want a fire story. If you want a cool story, go watch One Piece too. But you're not going to get that kind of story here. You're going to get a cool world that is being built, and it's going to involve fights. And that's it. And there's going to be a lot of wackiness and a lot of zaniness. And since we couldn't get our usual wacky characters like Oolong and Roshi, you had to settle for newer wacky characters like Neva the Namek and King Goma and Degesu and all of that, and Majin Buu. So I didn't mind it. I like the reveal that Supreme Kai had siblings. I like the reveal that Piccolo is actually a demon and not an alien. And all the Nameks are demons and not aliens. I did like some of those things. Letting us see a Super Saiyan level 3. It was like, it was really Toriyama saying goodbye and giving you like just a final goodbye with some of the things he knew you wanted to see. We haven't seen Super Saiyan level 4 in many years unless you played the fighting games or Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Heroes, that anime that kind of like you can't really see anywhere else but like YouTube and stuff. So he gave us all of that stuff just to say goodbye. And people went online and was like, this is boring. They just violated this man. So I'm going to say that it wasn't boring, but I knew the story wasn't going to be that fire, but I knew the animation and the fighting scenes would. So for that, I'm going to say it's all right. Sixth Man of the Year in that show was definitely Hybis. He was definitely also another one of the funny dudes. Glorio to me was kind of whack. He was soft. I think they should have explored more of his like origins with Arinsu, excuse me, because she was just like, yo, you just gonna go ahead and betray me after everything I've done for you, after I rescued you and all of that. And Mins was just like, yeah, like what? What did you really do for him for him to betray you that quick? Clearly it wasn't that much. So stuff like that I would have probably liked to see, but again, they don't be really going hard with their stories. They just kind of tell you things real quick and go from there. I mean, think about it. It was 20 episodes where most of the time Goku had like a couple fights. They fought a giant squid at one point. They was fighting jobbers, aka just security guards. They didn't really have any strength. They just had cool lasers. There was a fake Ginyu Force, which also was pretty funny. And that was it. This was more of a comedic adventure than it was a real serious story. So a couple final things. The opening and ending, which I want to just do a quick review of, because now that I'm reviewing anime shows, I haven't really done that yet. Now that I'm reviewing anime shows, one of the things I realized, especially last year, was the biggest anime openings were from the same group, Creepy Nuts, right? And they did one for Mashle to start the year, and they did one for Dandadan to end the year. So I want to be aware of what, like, whatever anime I'm watching, I want to be aware of what openings and endings I find cool, because you never know what could be the next hit. So this one, they went out of their way to do one called Jaka John, which was actually involving Zed. Zed actually had a hand in helping with the opening and the ending. Also C and K, which is, I'm pretty sure it's a Japanese group. And the ending was called Nakama, which was AI featuring Zed. And I don't think we're talking about the actual AI, artificial intelligence, but that's the name. Or is it Al? The way it looks, sometimes, I's and L's could be really, really confusing. But either way, shout out to Zed, because you don't really hear about non-Japanese artists really putting their putting their hand into anime openings or endings. And I like these. The Jakajan is catchy to me. And the Nakama was cool. So I'm going to say they were valid openings. They were very valid openings. But again, as I wrap up here, just know, I could go on and on just talking about different things that happened in the show. But just know that this was just a final goodbye to the Dragon Ball universe in the creation of Toriyama, in his point of view. So you got Dragon Ball elements, you got Dragon Ball GT elements, you got a few Dragon Ball Super elements, and you got Dragon Ball Z elements. He was able to formulate and put everything into one to just give it to us one last time. Because now when we come back to it, you know, Dragon Ball Super is like seemingly starting up again with their manga. But I'm going to be real with y'all. Even if they get the anime back, I've read Dragon Ball Super up to where they at now. It is not good. I'm sorry. It's not. The Moro joint, the Granola arc, the freaking, what's his name? The superhero movie now becoming canon. They don't even address the Broly movie. They just lightly just say, hey, they fought Broly and now they're friends with Broly. And then they put Broly in the manga, so now he's canon. So all we get is that, and it's not good. Trunks and Goten becoming the new Saiyan men. I didn't care for that. So none of that stuff is really that good. What you're about to get if they do anime Dragon Ball Super is not better than what you just saw with Dragon Ball Daima. I am keeping it a super stack with y'all. Unless you're a Dragon Ball fan and you came to see action, you might not get it there. So take with it what you will. He gave us one final chance at some decent quality work. So if you're online trying to trash this show, just stop, man. It ain't even worth it. It's not. I don't care. Anyway. Oh yeah. Who did I say was the sixth man? Oh, Hybis. Hybis is the sixth man for this show. Because he was the comedic support at sometimes. He gave the Oculus eye to King Goma. For just like, cause he got tricked by a chick who gave him a hat that was pretty whack. And, your man's even tried to swag Bulma from Vegeta, which was also a pretty ballsy move, my dude. So it was all of those things that were pretty funny about him. To me, he was one of the six men of the show. And finally, shout out to them also paying homage to Nintendo games, because the way to beat King Goma when he had the Oculus eye into his brain was to hit him in the back of the head 3 times. If you played Nintendo games in the past, like basically mostly Mario games, you know that one of the best ways to beat the villain, the only way to beat the villain, was to hit them in some point of their body 3 times, and then they were defeated. And Majin Buu hit him in the back of the head with a book 3 times. That is why I said you cannot be this mad about this story. Piccolo hit him twice in the back of the head and got rocked, but Buu, unnoticed, hit him in the back of the head with a book and succeeded. Like, come on, you know what I'm saying? So they went with the old Nintendo format. And also, like I said, you get the homage to Dragon Ball Super because when Goma was powered up in his big form, he was looking like Jiren for no reason. So it's just, you got to keep throwing those things in there. They kept mentioning Dragon Ball. It just was a homage to all of his work. It was a final goodbye. Didn't have to be perfect, but it worked for me. If there's anything else I missed, write it in the comments. Let's talk about it. If there's theories that you want to talk about, favorite character, least favorite character, best part of the show, least favorite part of the show, whatever it is, hit me up in the comments. I'll write back. You know what I'm saying? Go to the link tree in my description and check out the content that I'm brewing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Anyway, it's your boy Marv. I'm going to get on out of here. Y'all have a good day. Peace. Nerds in the hood. Let's go.